Hello and welcome to the gallery. My name is Jon and today we are painting the new Chaos Knights. Finally. Okay, so we've opened the box, we've assembled the models, we've magnetized them, we've taken a look at everything, and everything is really awesome. And finally, we are putting some paint to plastic. So let's just jump straight into it because we've been waiting a hell of a long time for this. Okay, let's just do this in a really quick and dirty manner because we want to get a paint on this guy and we're going for a fairly rough look for him and it's going to be quite dark and quite gloomy. So let's just start by dry brushing a little bit of retributor armor all over all the armor trims. I know it's a weird way to start with the armor trims, but bear with me a little bit. Dry brush it all over the armor trims. If it goes a little astray, doesn't really matter, we're just doing it over black primer, well, black paint over primer, all the armor trims, and a little bit here and there where we want a little bit of bronze gold look, just to break up the silver tone that will be happening in just a minute. And all of this paint job will be done with a brush, no airbrush, no fancy methods, just quick and really grimy and dirty. So after we've gotten all the gold down, we're putting down some typhus corrosion. Put a handsome amount, and this is on mostly on the panels. Put a handsome amount on the panels, and then moisten up the brush with a little bit of water, dry it off a little bit, and then feather it a bit so it becomes more in the recesses, not on the middle bits, but on all the panels that we want to be part of the armor panels, be it the head thing, be it the face mask, chest plate, whatever, some typhus corrosion all over it. And next we're gonna go for the silver to get this main color down, because there's a lot of silver on this model. It's a giant robot and we're using the same method for every single of the knights. And so we're putting Necron compound over all the silver all the panels, all the skeleton, over the gold as well, just to get it a little bit older looking. And it's a rough dry brush. It's neither here nor there. There's no finesse about it. Trying to keep maybe the shadows a little bit darker, and this gives us a good look to start from, because immediately it has shadows, it has highlight, it has some sort of look to it. Rise or Rust, I don't know if it's in production anymore, but I like this dry color. We're going to put this just on the panels and maybe here and there on the model, just to give it some aged look. But on the panels, we're going to go really heavy-handed because we want them to look really old. It will help with later effects that I'm going for, that I actually didn't plan on doing to begin with, but it turned out okay, so I just went with it. I had a different idea, but I mix and matched while I was doing it, and it looked okay. So a little bit of rust here and there on the body as well. And I don't have it in many sub-assemblies, as you can see. All the armor panels are still on the model. It's mainly just upper torso and then legs. And of course the weapon options are magnetized. Next, it's Agrax Earthshade, and this ties it all a little bit more together, gives the panels a specific look against the body. So we're just putting a good amount of Agrax Earthshade on the armor panels. If it goes a little bit out of hand, you can wipe it away with a brush or with a finger or whatever you want, but try to keep it to the panels. And we're going to put this all over every single panel of the model. And then once that is dried, we're going to put another layer on it. And this will give us a fairly dark kind of look to the armor panels. But it's a nice look. It's kind of grimy. Kind of like a rust marble effect. And I originally planned on putting some sort of paint and shaping medium on top of this, but I looked at it and I thought, well, this looks mighty fine. So I just stuck with this idea and saved myself a lot of hassle and a lot of trouble. But I will go into shaping mediums in some future night model, I feel fairly certain. Next, we're gonna darken down a little bit the skeleton because it is quite shiny because of the Necron compound. So I'm using my usual mix of Basilicanum Grey contrast paint with 50% matte contrast medium, and that's just going over the entire skeletal structure, all the silver bits, skipping the trim and the panels at this point. And of course, let's keep it out of focus a little bit. And for the smaller silver bits, like the piping and the exhaust vents and everything like that, and the chains, I'm using a smaller brush, mainly because I don't want this to go over and mixing with the brownish, reddish, the rusty hue that we had going. Next, let's aid the bronze a bit. So nihilic oxide, it's about, I would say, 1/3 nihilic oxide and 2/3 water. I find it's a little bit too blue when it comes out of the pot, so I like to thin it a little bit, get a little bit more control, focusing on where the water might end up, and then brushing a little bit over the rest as well, just to tie it all a little bit together. And this gives us a nice different hue to the actual borders against the panels and the skeletal, so we have some interesting things going. And now let's build some shade, because why the hell wouldn't I? That looks like a good idea, necessary for all hobbyists to do at least once in their lifetime, if not more. I'm kind of glad it wasn't null oil, but still we spilled some shade. But shit happens and we just have to work through it. So while I'm cleaning it up, I'd like to mention that the giveaway is still going. After this video, I'm going to give it maybe till next Sunday-ish. And then I will pick a winner, and next Monday we will have a video announcing said winner. Maybe taking a look at all the little night bits that I have lying around at this point. All the information for the giveaway is in this video right here, and also in the video description down there. Don't forget all that commenting, liking, subscribing thingy that we all know I love so much. Anyway, let's go back into the paint job and let's fiddle about with some of the smaller details and the more nuanced bits of this model. Okay, now the spill is cleaned up a little bit. Let's continue on. We're gonna add a little bit of extra light sources or flavory fluff things here and there. So we're putting some silver paint in the eye sockets, on the glass things, and on the coil of the main gun. And I like to do this with most coils. I like to put some silver on and then working my way up from there, adding a little bit of color to it, because you get a little bit of a sheen and also some color, and that is fun in my opinion. So after the silver has dried completely, we start with and yellow with the contrast paint, and we're going to put that all over the coil, and we have to not let it dry too much, because we're going to add a little bit of orange to it, so we get a little bit of more interest to it, a little bit of more cooling, heating, type of thing that looks kind of nice. So Gryph-hound orange on the top of the coils and feathering it down a little bit, so we have this nice bright yellow at the bottom and this dark orange on the top, and it looks like it's giving off heat. I know it's no OSL, but it's something. And then the same orange color is going into the little glass of the cubicles. I'm going for cubicles, that's the thing, and into the eye sockets of the knights, the knight and the war dogs. Now, finally, we're going to start with something that is not based on around metallics. So we're putting some beige color, skeletal bone color, on all the cloth, be it the loin cloth of the knight or the war dogs, or the cloth on the shield. Also on all the skulls, all the spiky bits that are coming out of the carapace, on all the carrion birds. And yes, of course, on his face as well, because he has this kind of skin-based patch over half his face, which is kind of cool, but of course I'm going to cover it with the big tooth-horned helmet face mask thing, and it looks just cooler. And of course, on the birds, I know this is a fairly thin paint, so 2-3 layers, very opaque paint, so not even opaque. words escape me. I'm so excited. My God, I'm excited. So 3 thin layers on top of this guy, and we get on top of all the bony bits, and it looks fairly okay. Next, we're going to put some contrast paint, and we're going to put only 2 types of contrast paint because I was getting a little bit lazy and a little bit excited at the same time. So we start with putting skeletal horde over all the bits. Every single bit except the feathery bits of the birds. We're going to do something a little bit different there. So we're going to get this, and on the cloth it's going to look a little bit patchy and splotchy, but it looks a little bit like worn and old leather, so that's okay as well. I mean, why wouldn't he have leather hanging off top of him? I mean, he's got spike growing out of him, and he's got a whole flock of seagulls on top of him. Who knows what's going on with him? Why doesn't he have just random bits of hide hanging from him? And then on the feathers, we're going for Gorgonta fur, just to give it a little bit more different color going there. Just some brownish hues going with the beige hues, and it looks okay. I mean, you could go further and add some shade and some dry brush highlights. I would recommend, if you're going to dry brush these birds, to dry brush them very, very, very carefully with a super soft brush, because they are flimsy as all buggery. Now, the birds are almost finished, and we're not going to add too much to this bird pandemic that's going on there. Just leave it as is. Just for the cloth, let's put some acrylic earth shade in a splotchy kind of manner, give it a little bit of even older look to it, like it's been hanging for a while and it's picked up some grease and some disturbing iffy things as well. Now we have some bases that we started to work on when we assembled the guy, and I just painted the metallic bits like I was painting the model while I was painting the model, and for all the rough texture I'm just dry brushing a little bit of dark gray into it, just to get some color going there, a little bit of oomph, not too much. We don't want to draw too much attention to the base. It's there for extra feeling, but not much more than that. And just because I said that, let's draw a hell of a lot of oomph to the base, just to contradict myself exceedingly much. So I'm putting some greenish, disturbing, oozy type thing going on there. It's not really Nurgle. It's a little bit too bright for the Nurgle raw type thing. But I'm using these intense inks, which are so vibrant and fun, and I'm just swirling them around and having them mix a little bit together naturally, and it pools quite nicely. It does mix a bit too much for my liking, but once it dried, it looked a little bit nice. It looked quite natural, and that's the thing I was going for, this icky, vile thing going on the base. And just to give it an extra sheen and extra wetness, I'm using some UV resin. It's a bit thick. The resin I have might be getting a bit old. I don't know. Who knows? Probably somebody who knows anything about resin. But I fan it out a little bit with a brush. I'm having it going a little bit up into the legs, and I didn't have too much left, so I'm trying to make do with what I have. Once I had around all the legs of this guy and the smaller guys, I finished off the tube of resin I had and squeezed it as much as I could, just to get a little bit more going, and it mixed a lot better into the ones I had already down there, because it was still wet. I hadn't put the UV to it yet, and immediately it looked like he was stepping into these vile puddles of disgusting green, slimy, gooey, whatever it is. And you know how I like slimy, gooey, whatever they are. And then just hit it with a UV light, and Bob's your uncle. If you have an uncle named Bob, that is. And here we have them. They are ready. I finally have the new box set fully painted, ready for the table. They look grimy and dirty and old and disturbing as all hell. And that's the look I was going for in a different kind of way, but this is the look that I ended up with, and I really, really like this look. It was a happy accident with the armor panels, and I can't ask for anything more. Thank you very much for joining me here today. There are links in the description for all kinds of stuff, social media and various tidbits. You do with it what you will. Like and share and subscribe and hit that little bell boy. And let the colors flow. But until next time, farewell.